still, still, March 16th, the afternoon. So, it was a hard morning, clearly, if you saw yesterday's post. But kids outside. I've been cleaning, which has been feeling so good, just to clean and listen to music and dance and just ground myself in that way, since I couldn't really do it meditating. So I was like, okay, just clean. So that's been good. Been doing cleaning. And I thought about a friend of mine this morning, and I'm like, oh, I should connect with him and just to see, because it's the end of March, right? End of March. So I'm like trying to figure out what I'm going to do next financially. And yesterday, I mentioned that all day, I was trying to heal something, and today I was just trying to reflect back to, like, okay, what's the message for me too, right? And I know it triggers me, but what else? And there was another topic that had come up about finances, about planning, about control, and realizing, that, when we lose control, we want to, just these lessons that are coming up again. So I'm like, okay, I connected with my ex-partner, and yesterday he was helping me out with something, and we drove home together, and in that conversation he asked what my plan was. And I'm like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know what my plan is. And then I think I mentioned before, we were sharing some bills, and just to balance stuff out. And so he's like, so what's gonna happen with this bill once, if you don't know what the plan is, or because he asked about Spain. I'm like, I won't know until April, May. He's like, well, what's gonna happen if you do leave? Like, how are we gonna pay this bill together? I'm like, I don't know. So I'm just like, how about you not ask me? I told him, like, let's wait until April comes around, right? April, May, when I know for sure what's gonna happen. I don't want to think about it right now, because it's not in front of me, right? And he's like, well, that makes sense. I'm like, okay. And so we were talking about it a little bit, and I'm like, I know you're not used to me not having a plan, because I was the one that always had the plan, right? I was always the one that knew where I was going, planned ahead. Like, I was the reliable one. And so I'm like, I know you're not used to me not having a plan. He's like, yeah, no. So I was just like, don't worry, I'll figure something out. Like, I know I will. Like, I know I will. And so that was in my mind today, as I was like transitioning from the heaviness and cleaning, and like, all right, Yubi, like, what are you gonna do? And then I remembered my one friend who gave me all these options of like side jobs to do, and I'm like, oh, I should look into that. It's on a post-it somewhere on my desk. I'm like, oh, I should look into that, right? And start tapping into stuff like that. Yeah, just start tapping into stuff like that. And then I thought of him. I'm like, oh, I should give him a call. He calls me today, and he's like, I just want to catch up. And so we're talking, and he's just like, well, we were just talking about like worst case scenarios, right? MJ mentioned that today. She's just in the morning. So she did a live. That's why she didn't post her thing, because she was doing something different, something new, and she did a live in the time frame that she usually posts. So so I saw that, and in that she talks about think about the worst case scenario, which is what I used to do all the time. And I'm like, okay, that's a good point. Let's just practice that again. So as I was cleaning, I was thinking about worst case scenario. Okay, worst case scenario, I don't go to Spain, right? Worst case scenario, I still don't have a job. I'm not bringing in an income. Worst case scenario. So I thought, you know, I'm like, I have people around me who offered. I gotta sneeze again. Excuse me. Who've offered, like, hey, you know, you always have a roof here. I was like, okay, so I'll ask for help. and you know, and then I thought about my ex-partner. I'm like, you know, I was the primary breadwinner for so long, like, while he was figuring out what he wanted to do. So, you know, hey, tables have turned, right? I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. I know I don't want to go back to a 9 to 5, so I need to figure something else out. And you know, what's the worst thing? Worst thing can happen, you know, my loans go on default. Okay, I can handle that. I can deal with that. You know, I could, my school loans. I could, you know, do forbearance. I could, yeah, like, I'm sure I'll figure it out. And I'm like, worst case scenario, I just ask for help. I just ask for help. And kind of swallowing that, you know, worry about why shouldn't I ask for help, right? I have people who want to help or in a position to help, people that I helped out at one point. And now the tables have turned, and you know, I'm grateful for those people in my life who are where they're at so that I don't have to be there while I figure out what I'm gonna do. So I was like, okay. So I was telling my friend, I'm like, worst case scenario, that's my fallback plan. I'll just, you know, I'll live with someone else. And then he gives me the idea. He's just like, why don't you just live in your car and like just travel? I'm like, in the US. I'm like, like, I didn't think about that. And so he's like, you know, helping me plan, and then he's just like, I'm living vicariously through you, Yubi. I'm like, hey, by all means, like, bring in the ideas, right? And I'm like, you can help me plan how to do that, and I could be your guinea pig and document, you know, like how that goes, and then you can follow along. And he's just like, yes. So I was just like, good to have friends who are smart. So I was like, all right. So I got my worst case scenario plan set up. Now I can let go, right? If things don't work out, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Worst case scenario is I go back to a 9 to 5. Really, like, that's like, like, they'll have to kill me first to do that, because I just, you know, once you have a taste. And he was telling me, he's like, I'm so jealous that you know, you're not worried about anything right now. And I'm like, yeah, but that's temporary. But still, right? And I thought about it. I'm like, you know, like, I don't have to worry about anything. I really don't. And he's like, yeah, I always told myself everything will fall into place, you know? This friend of mine, he has a high school diploma, didn't go to college. He has some college, but he's a businessman. He owns a bunch of businesses and rental properties and does a lot of creative stuff. And so, you know, I often look to him for financial advice. And he's like, I'm living vicariously through you, me. And so yeah, so it was good. It was good to know and get that reassurance, like, hey, you're gonna be okay, you know? You're gonna be okay. Yeah, that was it. I'm cleaning. Feels good to clean. Talked to my bee today. It's good to hear her voice. And just vent a little bit about what's been going on. And so just letting go, right? Just letting go. Like, just being. Being okay with just being, and being okay with not knowing. And, you know, I have my worst case scenario plan. I'm okay with that worst case scenario plan, so I no longer fear that option. whatever that looks like. Yeah. So I just wanted an update on Thursday. Alright, talk to you later. Bye. Hi, my name is Yubi, and in case you haven't figured it out, this footage is capturing my experience as I learn to navigate my personal spiritual awakening. I am learning that this experience is unique to each one of us. In whatever way we believe we are embracing living our truth, this just happens to be my journey. And despite me having a graduate degree and a license in clinical social work, this by no means is intended to replace any type of mental health advice. This is just me on a personal level, documenting my experience, shedding light on the truth that I am learning and discovering for myself, and really inviting you along for the ride. If by some magical chance you find this content to be helpful in any way, shape, or form, please click the like button, share the message, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have an Instagram account, a personal one, and one specifically for this channel that you're more than welcome to check out. I'm an open book. I have also created t-shirt designs. I'm wearing my favorite one right now, which is the North Node design, but I have that and other things that you can look at inspired by this process and journey, and I have the link in the description box as well as in the about section of my YouTube channel. So you're more than welcome to check those items out. Any type of support is, great. Again, if you find this content really helpful or meaningful, sometimes when we take that step and be vulnerable, with showing what's inside our hearts and what's really our truth, we realize that we're much more connected than what we thought we were. And so I hope that as I'm living this experience, that you find some type of truth for yourself, or find some type of ability to heal in some way just by relating, just by knowing that you're not alone. That really has been my goal with this process, not just being able to connect with others, but really for my own healing. It's definitely been a therapeutic experience and a very creative one for myself. So I thank you, and I wish you all the best, and we'll see what else comes next for me.